correctly with the correct amount.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll.
www.d20radio.com.
Welcome to Me and Steve Talk RPGs, a podcast where me and my friend Steve try and help you get the most out of your role-playing game experience.
Welcome back to Me and Steve Talk RPGs. I'm here with my friend Steve.
Hello, Steve.
And we're going to talk some RPGs, but before we get into that, we're going to shout out Logan and Company over at Story Told.
Yes, The Story Told is another podcast here on the D20 Radio Network. And if you've been listening to our Exalted Ruby and Fire actual play, you'll recognize Logan's voice as the voice of Nim, Pale Nimbus in that. So Logan's podcast has been around for quite a while now. It's kind of a RPG variety show. You know, sometimes it's game reviews, sometimes it's talking about various game topics. They've done some actual play stuff on their own in the past. You know, in fact, part of the inspiration behind Ruby and Fire was an Exalted series they ran called The Fall of Giara quite a while ago. So they've done a bunch of different stuff. I know as of right now, their last episode was about Burnout at the Table. And I believe Logan's co-host is named Lex currently, too, as well. So, yeah, check them out. They're good people. It's a good show. And, yeah, other than that, you know, there's a bunch of podcasts on the D20 Radio Network. So if you're looking for RPG listening, click on the link for their Discord server down in our show notes. And you can get to the shows there, because I don't think the website is back up yet. So, yeah, check out The Story Told. And
Yeah, unsure about that website as well. But yes, definitely check out the Story Told. Great people over there.
Mhm.
You had tonight's topic, and you had suggested when things go wrong.
Yeah. So, and by this, I'm not talking about, well, I am sort of talking about when you expect the players to zig and they zag. Or more often or not, you expect the players to zig and they go, woody-doo!
You mean like that time that I set you guys up to sneak into a museum and steal a thing, and you decided to go do a smash and grab?
We still were in the museum stealing the thing.
You still went to the museum and stole the thing, but you decided that instead of going at night and going in quietly, you were going in the middle of the day and causing a distraction.
Well, okay, yes. In fairness, though, you had things set up like, you know, security, like in Nick Cage stealing the Declaration of Independence in National Treasure. And
Well, that was the point.
I didn't feel like dealing with that much security.
That was the point. That was
The inspiration.
Yeah, I watched that movie and I was like, this would make a really fun heist for my players. And sometimes, you know, we all know how it goes. I'm glad that you finally put that together. Like,
But no, I'm thinking honestly, you know, like, look, we all know that players are going to player, and
well, yeah,
I'm thinking more in the context of, let's just say you have a heist type thing going, and either through just absolute poor planning / decision making, or the dice at the table just go ice freaking cold. And
yeah,
it's
you can't roll over it too.
it's just not happening. You know, how do you, and I'm not even necessarily like, I think what I kind of want to explore is more not even just in that session, because okay, now it becomes, instead of a heist, it becomes an evade and escape because the authorities are now there, etc., and so on, or whatever the case is, right? And this doesn't have to be necessarily a heist scenario. It's just kind of what popped into my head is the best way to illustrate it. You know, do they get caught and arrested? Then what happens? You know, what happens as the game goes on? Because, you know, generally speaking, as a GM, you kind of expect it to happen. But, you know, and I'm thinking of this too, kind of from the player side, in that, like, for me, Boy, playing through the fallout of a failed heist might be fun too.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Well,
but
I mean,
what does that look like, and how do you? Because let's face it,
I think
playing.
that looks
Yeah, go ahead.
so to sort of start jumping in on this. A failed heist oftentimes looks like a band on the run story. That's when you're like, we got to cut town, we got to get out of here, we got to go. Or a failed heist that goes miserably wrong, then you're like talking about trying to get them busted out of prison.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a fun thing where you could, maybe one of your players has a really high bounty. And, those are things that you can sort of play into backstory type stuff. Like,
Bring in a Raymond
let's
Reddington
say,
NPC.
yeah, yeah. He walks into court and goes, I'm an informant, let me go. And they let him go. Oh, my dad's obsessed with that TV show.
Honestly, I watched the whole series.
Mm-hmm.
It changed a lot in the last couple seasons after a significant event in the show.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually loved the character development, particularly James Spader's character, Raymond.
I love that. I genuinely, the clips that I've seen and the bits of the show that I've seen, I love that character and how he's playing it. And it is very much like a Dungeons and Dragons character.
Yeah.
Like, it is very much an RPG character.
Yeah.
He's very much playing just the, I don't care. I'm bad. I'm bad. Everybody knows I'm bad. Nobody cares.
Yes, but especially the last couple seasons, there are layers to that character that you didn't see early on.
Oh yeah, and that's exposition and things get revealed over time and story changes characters and those are all good things. But I just love the general. It's kind of like how we're getting with our Exalted game, where it's like, listen, I am an Exalt. There is nothing that you can do to me at this current time that would really genuinely scare me. Please walk away.
Yeah, but at the same point, there's got to be another shoe somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, the shoe's got to drop. I mean, but yeah, no, I just where were we? So yeah, you end up with like the band tries to break out of prison, and like I said, maybe you pick. That's a great time to like pick a player and be like, hey, have you ever been to prison before? Do you have a bounty on your head? Would you be wanted for anything? And if that player answers any of those questions with yes, then you like can ratchet the stakes of that up by, maybe the judge is like, okay, you're getting executed next week. Like you gotta go. And so now the band really has a reason, like the gang really has a reason to bust you out. Like, well, he can't go before the, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no.
but I think, and then also in the inverse side of it, say they don't get caught, you just ramp up. In my opinion, we play a lot of city settings, especially with heists. You would ramp up your security, you ramp up your police presence. Say it's a cyberpunk game. They're wanted by gangs and police and everybody now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's and to be fair, I did kind of steal this from Ken and Robin because, well,
Well,
the good source for topics, right? But they were talking about it in the context more of like Watergate,
okay.
and specifically with them, there's often a very historical bent to a lot of their thinking, and so they were thinking, how do you play, the fallout from the failed heist? But yeah, it got me thinking of like, man, what do you do? How do you pivot and react when, yeah, you got to cut bait and run or you get caught without, because the other thing, I guess maybe, do you call a timeout, look at the table and go, look, do you want to play out the fallout from this, or do we cutscene it and somehow you got away, or you know what I mean?
Yes, but I feel like you should have that conversation prior to them even committing the heist.
Probably, yes.
I feel like that conversation shouldn't happen when things go sideways. I think you need to ask the table, like, maybe the session before they complete the heist, to go, all right, you guys are planning this out. If it all goes wrong, Do you want to play that out, or do you want to, you know, how do you feel comfortable with this situation going?
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know there are game systems too that have mechanics that deal with that, like based on listening to Carrion Company, Warhammer has that fate point thing that like basically guarantees your character survives a scene, which
Right.
okay, you might be in jail, but you didn't get killed by the orcs. Um, but no, it's just a thought that like kind of hit me is like, man, and I think the problem to a certain point though, like the prison break scenario. Well, playing a prison break could be great fun. It's kind of one of those things where if it doesn't work, it's not actually interesting. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yes and no. I think if you're going to have them plan a prison break, you need to give them an extended period of time.
Hmm.
Like, I think the mistake I see sometimes in media is the idea that a group of people are going to break out of prison in 2 days. Um, you need to give them a little bit of time to do that.
They do brain.
Yeah, exactly. But or there was that whole TV show from the like mid 2000s called Prison Break. Do you remember that?
I remember hearing of it. I never watched it.
It was, but the whole point of it is that they spent all this time planning how they're going to escape from prison,
Hmm.
like you would do if you were trapped and like stuck in prison. And I think as long as your players are down to do that, give them that challenge. Let them figure it out. Let them figure out when the guards are on rotation. Let them figure out how they could get out through the laundry. Like, let them do it.
Hmm.
Because as a player, I love that kind of puzzle. I'm not good at like puzzles, but I love the like how do you get out of this situation? Where's the, where does the sewer drain run to? Like
Hmm.
so I think that's a very solid choice.
But I think
And
too.
then
Go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
I was going to say, and
Well,
I
I was
think.
gonna say we're both gonna say things. All right. I'll get mine out real quick and then I'll let you say more things.
All right.
I think on the inverse, if you let them do a band on the run story, that also gives you leverage to crank up the suspense. Maybe they get recognized from the town that they stole the thing in.
Yeah.
Maybe they start getting wanted posters put out there and really ratchet that up.
Yeah. I mean, some of this also is very much setting dependent. Your band on the run is going to be very different in Delta Green than it is in a fantasy game
If
or a
in
cyberpunk
Delta
game.
Green, if in Delta Green you manage to steal an item and are threatened with jail, things have gone horribly wrong.
Oh yes, but like say Fall of Delta Green.
That's different.
Well, but I'm just saying, like,
No, yeah,
things have
I
gone horribly
agree.
wrong. But I think some of this comes down to it comes down to that Breaking Bad thing, right? Like the
Mhm.
thing for me, and I'm not saying anyone else never did this, etc. But the thing about Breaking Bad to me that was so special was it was the first series I ever watched where actions had consequences. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah,
decisions came back and this step then necessitates that step. And I don't know, I how do I want to say this, man? Like the thing is, as a GM, trying to do that means keeping track of a lot of things, and it's quite a bit of work. And let's face it, most of us are busy, and this is what we do for fun. And well, yes, we're going to put some work into it. How much time and energy do we want to dedicate to it, you know?
so flowchart. Flowcharts are a fun thing that I have used, and I have been at tables that have used them as well. And that is, you know, you don't necessarily have to follow like a coding flowchart. You can do whatever key you want to do. If you want to say that purple is a person of interest for the players and green is this, or whatever, however you got to do it. But drawing out a flowchart of if this goes well, this happens. If this goes poorly, these options happen. Makes it a little bit easier, especially in my mind, to go back to and pick up and keep everything sort of moving and fresh, because that's kind of how my mind plans campaigns anyway. You know, the details may be vague, but the flowchart's still there.
No,
If then else, like,
yeah, no, and this, you know, like something we touched on last episode, or I touched on with Robert, was, you know, trying to think of campaigns and less in the context of this happens, then this happens, then this happens, and more in the context of, you know, this faction in the story has these goals, and this other faction character, whatever, has these goals, and they're all working to achieve them. You know what I mean? Instead of,
well, yeah, that exactly. Knowing your goals, your NPC's goals especially, is super important. Knowing your players' goals isn't as important, because you can ask them at any point, "What's your goal with this? What are you going for? What's the plan here?"
problem is you have players like me who go, "Oh, I'm just trying to confuse them."
Well, that's a plan. That's a goal. That's an idea to do. It's not a bad one.
Exsanguinated chickens.
Oh, good grief. I can't wait for the sanguinated chickens. I can't wait for the people to hear about the sanguinated chickens.
Exsanguinated chickens, yes.
I told everybody. Listen, man, I've told Autumn, I've told all of my friends that play RPGs, I've told everybody about that last session of Exalted. There are things that make me laugh about that I don't want to spoil. Like,
Right.
I don't even want to talk about it right now, because I know this episode's going to come out before that
heavens,
episode.
yes. I'm
Well before.
3 sessions. Yeah, we're looking at a couple months anyway before that comes out.
Exactly.
So minor spoiler, but yes, exsanguinated chickens.
Somebody make a t-shirt. Oh, wonderful cyclones and sanguinated chickens. I imagine it in like KFC font. Anyways, back to the point. We were talking about players and their goals. Oh.
In my defense, though, being a thief is much easier when there's confusion.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, that's 90% of thief plans are confusion, question, profit. Like,
well, see, I look at it this way. If there's confusion, there's less chance that anyone is paying attention to me.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, goals and whatever. But like, you know, and I think though, to kind of go back into where we started here, like, I don't think we're really talking so much about like a fight didn't go the way you planned it, because fights are relatively easy to fudge stuff, you know.
If a fight doesn't go the way you planned it, you just ended up running away at the, like, you might have lost somebody, but you probably just ended up running away.
Yeah. I think I'm more talking about, you know, man, how do you make the consequences entertaining?
Right.
You know, or you know, do you have that talk early on, you know, session 0, whatever, about, you know, hey, do you guys, like, not saying you don't have the option of, oh, we get to do whatever and there's no consequences, but how into dealing with the consequences are you? You know, how detailed do you want to get in it, I guess? Like,
yeah,
I don't know, like to a certain point, you know, as a player, I accept that some of my, for lack of a better way to say it, some of my weird shit may come back to me at some point. Okay, that's fair. You know what I mean? Like,
very, very fair, very, very fair. Like, yeah, I'm cool with stuff coming back to me at some point. That's absolutely fair and expected. Like, I would love for things to come back around. I threw that boomerang. I'm waiting for it.
Right. Yeah. And but see, I think too that comes to different people play games for different reasons, and some people I don't want to say that they expect to get off, with no ramifications, but they want it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah,
think.
they don't. I think part of it is that we let our players get away with stuff,
Hmm.
and we let stuff slide. And then that time that you don't let it slide, they're not expecting.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, Target's theft policy was, I don't know if it still is this case. They would basically build a case on you. They'd wait till you stole enough items that you were at like a felony. So $999 worth of items stolen.
Hmm.
And then they'd catch you. Okay. Whereas most places will catch you every time and then ban you. Target was like, nope, we'll wait until we can we can throw you in jail and then we'll catch you. So it's kind of like that with your players. You wait till they've hit a certain threshold of so much quote unquote bad behavior, and now we're gonna throw out. And we do it in Cyberpunk, we do it D&D, we do it everything. In Cyberpunk, we'll throw like the Cyber Psycho Squad at them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or a particularly nasty gang, or you want to really mess with somebody, start sending the med techs after them. Like, be like, hey, you're behind on your bills.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
No.
everybody talks about the Cyber Psycho Squad. Nobody talks about the private ambulance.
The medical repo team.
Ugh.
Yeah. No. I don't know. Like, I guess to a certain point, and I hate to say it this way, but to a certain point, well, yes, there's some think on your feet going on here. This is almost an easy shortcut for a GM because hell, the players are writing the first half of the story. All you got to do is fill in the next part.
Bingo. Hey, congratulations. You figured out what 90% of GMing is.
Right? It's
Write
and
a hook, wait for your players to fill in the details, use those details to write more, and it's this give and take, ebb and flow, back and forth, and the players write the story and they feel involved, and you write the story and you feel involved, and at the end of the day, you have a collaborative effort that is what makes this hobby fantastic.
true. I mean, but I guess like yeah, it because otherwise it becomes just it's an analog video game.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I know I've said it 1,000 times. Well, maybe not 1,000 because this is only episode 221, but I enjoy that. But that's not what I come to tabletop for.
Yeah, I'm not here for that. I'm here for something
You
completely.
know, I want to see what happens when I go off script,
Yeah, yeah,
for
let's
lack of
do
a
it.
better
Go
way
off
to
script.
say it.
Yeah, let's go off script. Let's do the fun thing. Like, let's do it. That sounds great. That's why I play tabletop RPGs, to be unhinged as humanly possible.
Though, maybe this is another topic of discussion, but I think there's a difference between unhinged and bonkers.
Mm, sure.
Like,
Bonkers is more silly, goofy. Unhinged just means that you're willing to do like whatever it takes.
yeah,
Bonkers in my mind is somebody that's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go fill the mayor's house with balloons." Whereas someone who's unhinged might be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go burn the mayor's house down."
yeah. No, I get it. I mean,
That's not an endorse of any
no.
sort of. Just saying, these are things that can happen in these games that we play.
Right. No, yeah, but I think, as a GM, if you have a player doing that, again, it goes to what are the motivations? Keep in mind that the bad guys are people too. And
Right.
so that's going to ratchet up something within them, be it security, be it whatever. And I think to go a little behind the scenes, just because I don't know, it seems on topic with the Exalted game, and I think some of I think I'll start into the next session, maybe the one that has some fairly significant action, like set piece movement, so to speak, in it. But with my character, Wondrous Cyclone, I fully expect stuff to come back, but like at some point there's observe, push a button, see what happens, and then we see what other buttons to push. But there's also, I've made a conscious effort to, like I said about the confusion, but that's in a sense a mask to not give the bad guys something to focus on.
Right.
In a sense, I'm aware they're going to react. A good GM is going to make the opponent react, but it feels to me like as a good in this case, I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of an anti-hero in a sense,
Hmm.
but like it's not within what the way I see my character to be overt about action. So I'm intentionally doing things in ways that are confusing and deceptive and whatever. And yeah, I know stuff's going to come back eventually, but the longer I can put it off, the more chance I have of heading it off before it happens. Does that make any
Yeah.
sense?
No, absolutely.
you know, and I think Deck has been really good as a GM about stuff's happening, but you're obfuscating what you're doing really well. So yeah, there are people that suspect things maybe, but well, yeah, for them to keep themselves hidden, they can't take overt action, and because you're not taking overt action, it's this weird game of cat and mouse in the dark behind a screen.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know. I really enjoyed it. Like
Listen, man, I'm having a blast. I know I haven't been there for every session, but boy, I'm having a good time playing that game. And I may not know, like, there's a lot of stuff I don't understand or don't know what's happening, but good grief, am I having fun with that game?
were you there for the arson session?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't remember being party to any arson because I feel like I would absolutely be party to some arson.
Well, I think that's the next session, like that I'll start cutting up for the next episode that comes out.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Um,
I was there. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. But yeah. Well, any more thoughts?
no, I don't know. I just felt like kind of exploring what to do when, like I said, for
What to do when it all goes wrong?
yeah.
I don't blame you. I can't disagree with you. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and move into game of the week.
Woohoo! Give it a week.
Game of the week. Game of the week.
So I have a game called Alone Against the Zone.
Okay.
It is $10. Mutations haunt the crumbling ruins. The blurb says, unnatural anomalies bend reality. Storms mercilessly erase the careless. You carry little, a weapon, a fated map, a stubborn will to survive. You must walk, you must lift, and you will hopefully endure. It's a solar survivor game based on exploration, hard choices, and survival at any cost. I don't know, man. I've been enjoying some really fun, like, survive the zone type things, and I think this looks fun too.
Yeah, well, then it's intended as solo, which is helpful if you're in weird hours or just feel like playing something and no one else is available.
Right? Well, and not only that, it's just I really dig the I don't know.
Post-apocalyptic
dig
stuff's
the
always cool.
Exactly. Well, again, that's Alone Against the Zone.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have found a game that I think is actually very much up your alley.
Uh-oh.
So I'm pretty sure you're a fan of stuff like, say, Faulty Towers.
Oh, yeah.
Or the other one, I'm not familiar with this name, but apparently it was a program called Jeeves and Wooster.
Oh, Jeeves and Wooster is hilarious.
Okay.
It's very British. It's very British.
So,
but yeah, it's good.
My game of the week this week is something called Flabbergasted.
Oh.
So this is a rules light, narrative-driven tabletop RPG set in the Roaring '20s. It's actually been out for 3-4 years now. Got some really big Emmy nominations. But it's, again, set around the turn of the 20th century. Basically, you take on the role of either like an aristocrat, a well-to-do, a bohemian, or staff. and you you know, it looks like you create like a social club, whatever, that's kind of maybe the centerpiece of this, and maybe secret societies and so on, but it just feels very British sitcom, for lack of a better way to say it. And again, very much not in the vein of anything we talked about earlier, but I don't know, this just seemed like this could be a fun thing to break out every now and then, like maybe have this as like a side game from your normal thing. I mean,
Right.
PDF will set you back, and it's about $22 right now. 160 pages. Comes with a setting, designed for 4 to 6 players. Comes with 2 pre-written campaigns, and a bunch of story hooks.
Yeah.
And I think too, to a certain point, maybe this does tie into our topic because, well, your players are going to create stuff, and then stuff happens.
Correct. So Jeeves and Wolfster, just talk a little bit about that, is in his early days, Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry.
Okay.
Before they had their, if I'm remembering right, this is before they had their sitcom called Fry and Laurie.
Okay.
And it is one of those British sitcoms. It really shows how funny Hugh Laurie was and how weird of a twist it was for him to go and do House.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's such a serious show, and he was such a funny comedic actor in Britain. But yeah, Jeeves and Wooster is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely worth a watch. I've been rewatching speaking of British comedies, I've been rewatching Black's Books, which if you haven't watched that, it's pretty funny. It's technically like Irish, but
So,
it's all.
just remind everyone before we head down this tangent. This is a game called Flabbergasted. Link will be in the show notes, along with the link for
Oh yeah.
for Alone Against the Zone and all that. But on the subject of British television, I watched a series recently. I don't know if you ever heard of it, called New Tricks.
No.
So
New Trick.
I found it on Hulu.
Okay.
Surface wise, it is a police procedural.
Okay.
But the premise of this police procedural is this, I'm going to say 40 something ish, maybe, late 40s, female, moderately high up.
It's Amanda Redman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the London Metropolitan Police, for various reasons, gets assigned to head this new unit they're going to start, which is the Unsolved and Open Case Squad. Now, what they do to run this is they go, well, we don't want to, pay actual detectives. So they go, you're going to pull from the pool of retired detectives. And so
that sounds fun.
You have these guys combined between the three of them. They have like 80 years of investigative experience, and it's James Bolam, Alan something or other, and I forget the third main actor's name. But it basically is 3 old retired detectives, and it's not a comedy overtly, but stuff just happens that you're going, yes, I can see people that age acting exactly like that. Like there's even an episode where they decide to investigate something going on in like a retirement home facility. And so they decide one of them is going to go in undercover as a resident. And then there is an in-character argument over who is to be the resident and who is playing as their son.
That sounds fun. I'm going to have to watch that. That sounds like a lot of fun. I started that Darth Maul TV show. Did you watch any of it?
I have not yet, no.
It's, I don't know how I feel about the art style, but it's good.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of it. I've been too busy with stuff to sit down and really watch anything.
Right. I know the feeling. Unfortunately, my schedule's been fairly wide open, but that's just life.
Well, but yeah, it was, like I said, that New Tricks is ostensibly a police procedural, but I found it very entertaining.
I have to check it out.
And like the one guy is what we would almost like a Rain Man, almost autistic, obsessive. eh,
Gotcha.
And of course the character's name is Brian Lane. And there's a few times through the series where it comes out that he had the nickname of Memory Lane. But like it's not like they do that where they don't beat the jokes to death necessarily.
There's nothing wrong with that. I like a show that doesn't beat the jokes to death. Let them breathe. Let them be there. Yeah.
And actually, late in the series, there is some miniature gaming.
Nice.
Or later in the series, I should say.
Well, with all that being said, I want to thank everyone for listening this week. Remind you, as always, links to everything will be in the doobly-doo down in the description down below. And, yeah, be kind to one another and get out there and play some RPGs.
Yep. Take care, y'all.
Intro and outro music by the band 12 Noon. You can email us at meandsteverpg@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at @andrpgs. Find us on Facebook at Me and Steve RPG Podcast. On Discord at Me and Steve RPGs. And as always, all of these links are in the show notes. Thank you, and be kind to one another.
How much for the cigar?
Cigar, $20, dog. You gotta go down the street to the store and buy that.